What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of After the Movie. I'm currently sitting at my house right now. I just got done watching the all-new Pixar film Turning Red, and I'm here to get my thoughts on it. So this is the 25th movie that Pixar has ever released. I know they've done some various shorts and stuff, but this is their 25th Pixar movie, going all the way back to Toy Story, all through like ups and downs of the whole Pixar filmography, and now we're on to Turning Red, which went straight to Disney Plus, believe it or not, which I'm kind of surprised. I feel like this movie would have done pretty decently in theaters, but then again, I've heard some pretty mixed reactions to this film online, like going into this thing, so I didn't know what to expect from this thing. I kind of went into it with a bit of an open mind, didn't really pay attention to the trailer. The concept is just about some girl who was just, when she gets emotional, she turns into a giant red panda, and I'm like, okay, let's see what they do with this thing. And pretty much this thing, what it is, it's an anime movie. It has the tone and the spirit, and it kind of perfectly captures that. So if you're into kind of like some various anime films where they have that over-exaggerated faces, like that sense of humor, like I just saw, what is it, Sing a Bit of Harmony earlier this year, and I felt like that kind of humor is very present in this movie. Like, it's definitely quite jarring when I went into this thing, because I didn't expect the movie to be kind of like this, and in some ways I kind of appreciated that about it. Like, it's very different from every Pixar film that's come before it, which I'm like, okay, cool, give me something a little bit different, unique, and interesting. It's beautifully animated, by the way. Like, this film is really nice to look at. The colors all look great. The animation, the facial features, and the way it kind of transitions scenes. The visual gags are really on point with this thing. Like I said, all that is done quite well. The story is basically about this girl. It's early 2000s, set in Toronto. She's really into boy band. She's got her friends and all that, but she also has an overbearing mother, and her overbearing mother is like I said, this feels like an anime film. Goes to absolute extremes to preserve like this pitch perfect image of what she wants her daughter to be, and that causes something, like that stirs something within the girl to where like she gets extremely embarrassed on multiple occasions, and all of a sudden she's got some magic in her family's history. She turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets emotional. And like I said, this is a bit of a coming of age story. You can, like, this, it's kind of like tapping into like somebody going from childhood into puberty. That's kind of one of the ongoing themes now with the movie. There's even a scene where the mom's like, oh no, it's that thing. And then you see like the dad in the back like, uh-oh. So like girl's gonna go on her period, so she's got to get tampons and all that other stuff, and the dad just kind of sit in the background like, uh-oh, and the mom just kind of freaking out about all that. He's like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. So like I said, it's about like going from childhood to like adulthood, you know, puberty and all that other stuff. There's some relatable stuff with this main character, and how there's moments where like somebody's got to try and find themselves, not exactly who their parents want them to be. So there's a lot of relatable stuff in that thing. It's being set in the early 2000s. They got their Tamagotchis, and you have these girls who are really into this boy band, which can be a fill-in for things like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. I'm like, oh my god, this is my older sister right here. Like, so like I could kind of relate to some of the characters. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've seen these people before. It was my older sister back in those days. So like I said, like some of that, like it kind of connected with me in that regards. On the other hand, there's a lot of really kind of obnoxious characters, at least within the first 10 minutes. Things got better kind of after that until you kind of adjust to like what the movie kind of is in terms of tone and style. But the first couple of minutes of this movie, it's like, I'm Mei, yada yada yada. It's like, this is my friend. And like they have all these like dramatic intros and all that. I'm like, oh no. Oh, please don't be this the whole movie. But then as time kind of goes on, you kind of get used to it. And like I said, I can see why some people don't really like this thing. Because like I said, it's definitely feels very anime inspired in terms of its tone and style. But once I kind of got around to that, I started to get a little bit more into the movie. Like I said, this is probably the weirdest Pixar film that they've made, at least compared to everything else that's come before it. It definitely tries to have some emotional moments, and I didn't quite feel that. Like, I definitely felt secondhand embarrassment, like, for this girl, because her mom is just so obsessed and kind of crazy to the lengths that she'll go to just kind of like for her daughter in a way. Like, there was a scene where the girl is just like kind of going into puberty, and she's like, oh, this guy's he's nothing. And then she starts to doodle him, doodle like his picture, and it's like, and then she keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then all of a sudden, like, she creates like this whole like crazy like yaoi like type artwork with the guy, and then like her mom discovers her pictures, and then she drives the girl to the store, is like, what have you been feeding my daughter with these things, like what have you done? And she's like, mom please no, mom please no. So you got that going on with it. And like I said, I felt really bad for this girl. I'm like, my God, like this woman takes it to such absolute extremes that just feels kind of unrealistic. But then I thought, wait a minute, anime. And then like once kind of adapt to that, I'm like, okay, in that sense, like it kind of works. But if you're not accustomed to that, then you're going to be kind of like, okay, this is taking it a little bit too far. Like just a little bit in certain ways. The movie can be funny at times. Like there was a few moments where I was definitely chuckling a little bit, especially with a lot of the visual gags. Like I said, animation's done quite well. Like I said, when it tries to have like the super kind of Pixar emotional moments, I didn't really feel anything in that regards compared to some of the other films they've done, like Inside Out. Like Inside Out, I felt like that ending to that movie. Like I wasn't as into Inside Out as a lot of people, but when it got to that ending, I'm like, okay, I definitely feel it. I could feel the emotions in that, like when Riley has to kind of like talk with her parents. When this movie tried to do something like that, I'm like, well, the tone of this movie's been mostly comedic, so it wasn't anything uber serious like some of the other stuff, and you could see in Inside Out. But it was creative in that time. I'm not familiar with the director who made this thing, but I do feel like this thing would have done pretty well in theaters. But then again, like the mixed reactions kind of going on online, I'm like, I don't exactly know. So it's kind of interesting to see how this thing's going to kind of be talked about for years to come in terms of all the Disney Pixar films. I definitely enjoyed it more than Luca and Soul and Onward for sure. I'd probably put this thing like kind of smack dab in the middle, like in terms of the Pixar films. Like I had my own little ranking. I think I just like right before I recorded this thing, I was like, I think I had it like 13. So literally right smack dab in the middle in terms of Pixar's filmography, from like the best, which I still say is Toy Story 2, all the way to the bottom, which is like The Good Dinosaur, Brave, Onward, and all that other stuff. Because like I said, Pixar made a lot of kind of mediocre type movies, kind of post Toy Story 3. Like there was this phase of Pixar where they were kind of unstoppable, and that's going from the original Toy Story all the way up to Toy Story 3. And then they made Cars 2, which I don't hate as much as a lot of other people, but really that was kind of like their first major hiccup in terms of like Pixar stuff. And then like they kind of wanted to do like Monsters University and all these kind of other things, and they couldn't quite capture that magic that they had in their earlier days of Pixar. So but they've had a few movies since then which I've enjoyed. Like I said, I liked Incredibles 2. I really liked Coco. That was another good one. But like I said, Pixar was like, there's like kind of two phases of Pixar. There's like the golden age of Pixar, like I said, which is from Toy Story to Toy Story 3, and then there's kind of post Toy Story 3 Pixar, which you can get something that's either good, nothing truly amazing. I think my favorite probably this era might have been Coco, which was one that I quite enjoyed thoroughly. But like I said, you kind of like, it's kind of like, what are you going to get with Pixar? You never know if it's going to be like up here or down here or whatnot. But they've made some interesting pictures, and this one is certainly an interesting picture that they've done. So I don't know what else to really say about this thing. The mom turns into a giant kaiju-sized red panda, so this technically counts as a kaiju film. Like I said, the whole anime influence to get like a kaiju-type sized red panda in there, so that was kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that in this thing. They perfectly captured the whole boy band feel, which, like I said, if you don't really like boy bands, then they're explicitly shown throughout the movie to the point where it can get kind of annoying, which is why I think this movie isn't necessarily for everyone. And there's some cringy bits kind of in there in regards to that. But it definitely captures what I feel like what it is to be like a teenager, at least from my perspective, from what I saw growing up and, you know, having sisters and all that stuff. So, yeah, like I said, this one's kind of, like I said, smack dab in the middle in terms of Pixar things. I think if you're into more anime-based, like, type humor in that, I think you're going to really like this thing. And if you're not really accustomed to that, this is your kind of first time getting something like this, I don't know how it's going to be. I think some people might gravitate towards it, and others definitely won't. Like I said, this is kind of a really interesting one. It's very kind of out of place. Like I would not expect this to be a Pixar film. Like I said, it feels straight up like a Japanese animation film. Just somehow got like slipped in, and Pixar decided to animate it in their own kind of unique style and all that. So there's that. So if you're into that, I think you might be into this thing. If you're not, I'm not exactly sure. So, but like I said, anime is not for everyone. I really like it, so I think that's part of why the movie worked for me. It's definitely out there. It's really weird at some points. It doesn't quite have the heart or the emotional moments like some of the other earlier Pixar works. So like I said, I'm comparing this to other Pixar films. But the comedy, like I said, it definitely has some great visual gags sprinkled throughout the film. I think the fluidity of the animation really kind of helps sells a lot of these moments. But there's also some cringy bits going into this thing. And I do appreciate how it's kind of a simple story. It's just a girl who wants to, like, is trying to grow up, become her own, you know, independent person, and then she also wants, like, has this one thing she wants to do, and she wants to go see this boy band concert perform. So the simplicity of that, I like. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need everything big, end of the world stuff. I think I sometimes just like a nice little simplistic storyline. And who knows, maybe if I see this film a few more times, it might grow on me some more, or not. But like I said, like compared to a lot of other recent Pixar films, like this is one where I could see myself rewatching it. Like some other things, like what was it, Onward? I have no interest in rewatching that film again or anytime soon. But something like this, I could see myself rewatching with somebody just to kind of get their reaction. I want to know your reaction though. Did you see Turning Red? Did you like this thing? Did you dislike this thing? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, all that other fun stuff. And yeah, I got more content coming up. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do next, but I did just see Turning Red, and I wanted to get my thoughts on it. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Turning Red, all that other fun stuff. If you've seen it, tell me what you thought of it. And if you liked it, disliked it, I'd be kind of curious to know. So there you go. That's all I got to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.